What if the Battlefield 6 combat knife was real? Hold up, this guy doesn't know yet, but we're giving this knife away. Watch the whole video to find out how to enter. And made from a car bearing. Let's forge one and see if it's actually a good knife. Now after what seemed like 50 or 100 times I dropped the actual bearing, I decided to make another pair of tongs. These ones are specific for holding flat stock like this. First thing you gotta do to enter this giveaway is to subscribe to the channel down below. Rest of the details I'll mention later in this video. Guys, these tongs are a game changer. I am so glad I made some. Blade's now all straight. Now we're gonna do the normalizing cycles. And after that, we can get to grinding. Normalizing cycles are what helps the steel actually relax. So there's a bunch of molecules running around everywhere in the steel when you're forging it. But it needs time to relax because when you quench it, it'll put a lot more stress on the steel. So fast forward a few weeks and now we have a new forge, a welder, and we still have the same projects. We've been working on other stuff, but let's get back to this combat knife. First, we're gonna trace the blade onto the billet and then cut it out just to save some grinding, and then maybe get some bevels ground before we can then quench it. Well, I figured I need to grind out this crack before I quench it, because the thing is, if your blade or billet has cracks in it and you go to quench it, you're gonna just crack it even more. So this little fold of when I forged it from the bearing, that will be a big problem in the quench. All right guys, so we got the blade roughly profiled. It is ready for heat treat, but before we do that, let's not make the same mistake as last time. We're gonna drill the holes for the pins and the handles first before we heat treat. That way we don't have to reheat the handle to get a drill bit through, because that was a pain.
to enter, give this video a like.
All right, all bevels are ground. Let's chuck this bad boy in the forge and get it heat treated. Let's do the quick file test, make sure it's hardened. It's probably the best heat treat I've had so far. Let's get this sucker in the oven to get it tempered. Whew, it's a new morning. Yesterday we had this knife tempered in the oven. She's looking nice and black. We're gonna get this prepped today, hopefully to get a handle on it. First thing I wanna do is wire brush all this off because this is from the oil. It's not actually dark. So I didn't over temper it. It's just dark from the oil. Once I get this wire brushed, I will then check out the handle. I have a similar color than what it looks like in the video game. It's a micarta. And then what we're gonna do is blacken it, probably scuff it up a little bit with a wire brush or something. That's the plan, and let's get to it. We have cleaned this sucker up enough to where I think we can move on to hand sanding. Well, I finished hand sanding the blade to 220 grit, and I think I'm gonna stop there. I kind of like the way it looks. Of course, I realized after I'm done hand sanding that I didn't put serrations on it. And as you guys can see in this image, there's about an inch and a half of serrated blade. I may not trust myself, but I have no choice. That's the way this knife was made, so that's the way I gotta make it. It's really eating away at my file, but it looks like it's enough to really just make a mark. All right, well, before I dull the crap out of this file, because this knife is hard. This file is obviously just doing a little bit, but I've noticed the file is getting dull very quickly. So I'm gonna switch over to the Dremel. My bread knife serrations are good. Now we're ready to get the handle done. People, all right, back at this mess again. Hopefully everything's all glued up. Looks like it. So what we need to do is we need to measure out where these little divots on the handle go. There's some interesting, questionable things done to the handle, but it's a video game, so obviously it's not super realistic if we're talking real life knives here. But we're gonna do it because we're trying to follow the video game and not what makes actual sense, Now, before I can even start marking out where I need to have these little indents and stuff, let's clean this handle up. All right, so we got this knife fairly cleaned up, and now we're ready to mark where we want the little details. So in the image, you can see there's 3 divots on each side. Well, I'm assuming each side. What I'm gonna do is basically just trace my fingers and make it look good. Made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I have something really important to tell you guys. My wife told me if this video doesn't get 200 likes, I can't give this knife away. So I need your guys' help to get this video to 200 likes. So do whatever you have to do. Comment down below, share it to your friends, and of course, watch the rest of this video. I really want to give this knife to you guys.
Sharp, baby.
All we gotta do now is clean it up with some acetone, etch my maker's mark in there, darken it up, and call it good. The final thing we have to do to this knife, guys, is test it to see if it's actually battle worthy. Now, we may not be able to go to battle, but we have some things that we can use to test the edge and the tip of this knife. The first thing we're gonna do is stab a spray can multiple times to see if the point of this knife can actually hold up. Here we can see this knife is shaving metal like nothing. And you look at the edge, there's hardly any damage, if any at all. Guys, I can confidently say this knife is battle worthy. There is no tip damage. There is no edge damage. I really want you guys to win this knife. Make sure you've done all the steps that I've mentioned in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.